Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Your Little Castle show. It is something that I think most people do appreciate, and that is in our little planet, in our little place here, it is good to be accountable. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Toni Jackson to the studio here. She is a CPA, an accountant, and she owns her own company that helps businesses to be accountable. Is that true? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair to say. I think we all should be accountable, though, personally, whether or not we're in business.
Well, I'm just as somebody who coaches people and talks to different groups, and sometimes it's kids and the other parts of town, and people are they don't get as much support as it seems sometimes, and other times it's the kids that kind of have stuff a little more readily given to them, if you will. And you got to range. You want to help everybody, and it ranges within that group. And there's some of the kids that, boy, they've got all the resources, but they're still not accountable. And there's other kids that they want to be accountable, but nobody's ever really helped them. And we try to help all of them, and it's a key to life, I think. But an accountant like you helps those business owners to go, and we're going to be accountable just in case you've got to deal with the IRS or all the big people that will make you be accountable if you're not accountable up to that point, right?
Absolutely. You definitely have to be accountable to the IRS and your state.
And your state. And so with that, everybody, please welcome Toni Jackson, serving the St. Louis Mill area there. And is it 314-289-9645?
Correct.
We got
that
it.
Is who we are. Thank you. Thank you for having me here, Carl.
Well, it is dynamite to have you here. And your website is at fin-accttg.com?
Correct.
We got it. Well, with that, we got everything started. So vital information we're going to share with you guys. First, let's give a shout out to our sponsors. As you see behind me here, Carroll House Furniture. Brooke, Amy, wonderful to have them because you like nice things in your house where everyone is well accounted for. Yeah, I threw that in there. Does that make sense? And then, of course, when we do talk about being accountable, you do want to, and you've got a house to do that. You do want to have nice furniture in a place that you know that you appreciate, but your home is likely not paid for in cash. That's what percentage of people do that? Not many. They have a mortgage typically, right? So our shout out to our sponsor, the Flowers team, USA Mortgage, and Steve Flowers, Emily Flowers. That's who I'm partnered with, and we do a lot of fun in the community to help people get to the house that they love because they've been accountable. They deserve to have a nice place to live. So with that, a little bit of you see a lot of interviews we've done in the past. Take a look here, a lot of experts, and that's why we brought in Toni, because we want to talk to somebody who's an expert in the accounting world, and really some important stuff there, and all kinds of fun stuff. We even got pictures from shows and clients and fun stuff out there that you guys can check it out. So let's go. I'm going to go back out to our wide angle shot because you can see here, this is a cool little studio, but on the walls for everybody to see, I'm going to start putting up the really important stuff. And this is how people can get a hold of and learn from or reach out to Toni, because I've been a business owner for a long time now. And if you don't get the accounting piece right, you're setting yourself up for failure. Is that true?
Well, that is true. But to clarify, I'm more focused on the tax, the compliance,
well, that's what I'm
risk
talking.
management,
Sure.
right? So
Yeah.
you got to account for all of that holistically. And then, of course, you have to have your estate in order. So there's
Yeah,
a lot
and that's
to
what
do.
we're
As a
talking-
person, there's a lot to
Yeah.
do, whether you're in business or not.
Yeah, and it kind of ties together. But yeah, we're here to talk about business tax related stuff. Is that what you're trying to say there? And that's more of where that's what you do. You're helping businesses
Right.
manage their taxes.
Right. I help individuals and businesses, but I like to focus on the business side.
Right.
Yes. Right.
And that's what we want to make sure everybody understands, because like as a business owner, you and I both, we figured out, both did work for a local brewery based out of St. Louis called Anheuser-Busch. We overlapped for like 7 or 8 years. We were both there. You were up running the important stuff. I was just making sure everybody got their lunch plans. What people that would joke with me, they're like, Carter, you just make sure everybody gets their lunch plans because you've got to make sure they get their email. I built email systems there. You did the accounting at a high level to make sure a big corporation stayed. Some of the stories you were telling me, wow, you were at high levels running around the country, making sure that all the places that.
Well, as an auditor, right? I started off as their internal auditor, right? So yes, I did get to see beautiful places connected to Anheuser-Busch because, as you know, there's a lot of bars out there and a lot of beer being sold around the world. So whether you're at 7-Eleven, going to purchase your beer, right, or you are the partner distributing Anheuser-Busch products in other countries. So yes, we have to make sure that the checks and balances are there and internal controls are in place.
And
For
a
many
very,
years.
very important role. I just, after we start talking, I'm like, wow, you've done so much at a high level. That makes me feel good about recommending, if I said, if you're looking for someone to help your business to understand what they're dealing with, she knows what they're talking about here.
Yes, I do. I've been doing this a long time. And the thing is, it comes natural. I started off as a paralegal. I went to school and got an associate's degree there. And so I worked with lawyers for a few years. And I think that set the foundation for my compliance work, which then eventually led into auditing, to which I then started getting into more of the tax side and risk management.
Okay, well, yeah, we're covering a lot here as we get going. I'm going to bring it back a little bit. This is my fault for going, because I love learning about how to be a successful business person. That's what this show is really at the core of what we're talking about and who those leaders are. So you'll share some of your information with people to understand how you got there and what you did, and then how you help people too, because maybe somebody will decide they want to use your services. But why did you decide to become a business owner?
Well, I had a very successful career. I worked for a lot of good places. But one day, I was given the notice that I was going to be laid off effective that day. So, within 2 hours of leaving there, I held my head up high. I took a scenic drive down the road and asked myself, so what are you going to do now? And I remember even thinking what the options were, because I wanted an answer. I wanted an answer before I went home, because no one knew yet, right? I'm doing this in solo. So, obviously one of the questions are, you can get another job, which, capable of doing that. Or are you going to try something different this time? Maybe start your own business. So within that hour after making that decision, I was at Best Buy buying a laptop. I had made my decision.
You made the decision.
Yes.
That's a powerful decision, an empowering decision, if you will.
I haven't even told my husband yet.
Hey, but you made the call. You were confident to do that, but you didn't have to talk to the co-partner. But yeah, I mean, I went through a similar path and went off and did work for somebody else. And one day I said, enough, I'm going to do it myself. And I just think, look, I encourage anyone to do that, because it gives you that real sense of autonomy, control, and then it's also on your shoulders, right? But
it's not easy.
With your history and your background, the success is apparent. But great job in taking the leap, and we're really
it is a leap of faith.
It is, and it's a struggle mentally a lot of times. It's they say 50% of baseball is 90% mental, right, or whatever they say.
Oh, yeah.
But it's in your head, and then you've got to go after it. But the confidence you built and the history you've gotten, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at Toni's resume, I mean, it's powerful. It's like, wow, she's done some amazing things. This is who I would like to talk to when I have a tax issue for my business, to make sure I know what's going on, be successful, and stay out of trouble with the IRS and all the things you need to do. But tell me, what you want to give a little bit more about the path of what got you here, and share with people maybe a little bit of the decisions that help you to come to that conclusion, because you've worked at some big companies and done some big things, and then all of a sudden it clicked.
Yeah, I think the path is just trying to figure out, okay, what would be your niche, right? You got to identify, okay, yes, you're going to go in business for yourself. Yes, you have a laptop. Now what? You got to set it up. What are you going to be? What are you going to call yourselves? Are you going to actually register, right, and be a true business? So right away I decided to be a corporation, because my background is finance and accounting. Short Fine Accounting, right? So the name of the firm is Fine Accounting, short for Finance and Accounting. So, with all that background that I had, the difficult part for me was figuring out what path to take. So it started off on shaky ground, in terms of, I could do everything.
I've been there, yeah.
Right. And then, and that was fine, and that was great, in terms of the business advisory and personal advisory stuff. But then COVID hit. So,
sure.
We were impacted by that. So, but now we're, back on track as far as building that back up, focusing more on the business tax area, and business advisory. And I think that has been very fruitful, let's say. And I think I'm finding my niche, actually in a better place than pre-COVID, although I didn't think I was doing that bad. But as far as the decisions go, it's trial and error. I created my own website using WordPress. Just trying to figure it out. But what I did learn is that when they start updating all those widgets that you now downloaded, whether it was your form,
plugins,
contact
right?
for your plugins,
right?
You got to keep up with that. And so I then had to take a path and decide to get some help in those areas. So what I've learned is, manage your strengths, right? And focus on your strengths and drive your strengths. But where you're maybe not as strong, like in my case, the IT side of things, and just talking about the website, just you have to go ahead and.
Yeah. Well, on side note, with regard to, there's an automatic setting for WordPress where you can auto update with the plugins. That's a security issue too, because if they're not updated, that's why they have to be updated most times, is because these world famous hackers will come in and they want to get into your website. So that's my little world, a little soft tip there. Yeah. And that used to be a plugin you had to add, and now it's built into WordPress, by the way. And don't hold me to that, because it'll probably change this week as with the way the IT world goes. But yeah, do what you're best at is what you're saying.
Yes.
And I'm finding the people that can do the IT side. Not my favorite thing to do, but I know how to do those
or
things.
anything you need, whether it's bookkeeping, whether it's your taxes, whether it's your back office, because one of the things that we do is, you have people out there that they're good at selling what they sell out there, whether, if you're in the real estate business, you're out there, buying new properties, you're managing that, you're talking about that, you're developing, your properties. But there's the back end, right? You've got to be accountable. You've got to take care of your accounting needs, your bookkeeping, right? Pay the bills. And so we can handle that. So
Well,
that's where the personal chief financial officer,
yeah.
that's that holistic services that we can provide. But, there's also just, the smaller pieces just need your tax return done for this season, right?
Sure. Well, that's why I say a lot of people don't understand. And most of the businesses that I've had on our show, and I don't ask them each, do you have an accountant or not? But I know just from talking to many guys that I've worked with, this is the world I'm in after I did the corporate thing, Anheuser-Busch, and then another couple of big companies. And I said, I want to work with the smaller businesses. Very few have a CFO, right? A chief financial officer. They need an expert, and they contract out their accountant, but they don't necessarily have somebody that is looking out for the holistic. Is that kind of what you specialize
Exactly.
in? Because
and
there's more than
risk
just getting the
management
tech.
comes in,
Right.
right?
Okay.
You see a lot of people out there. Yes, you have your accountant that's putting things in the right order, recording them, right, getting them ready. But that's just one set of books, your financial books, right?
Right.
You have to put together your income statement, your balance sheet, and and a lot of those softwares that accountants use can produce those reports. But who's analyzing the results?
Right, and then you get in.
Who's making sure you're getting your monies from your receivables?
Is it the tax law that you've got to get into, in the matter of strategy a lot of times, and how you apply certain purchases you make for the company, how you write off? I mean, it gets so complicated. Like, that's not my area of specialty, obviously. And if I don't have an expert like yourself, I had an accountant who I won't name, who is a friend still, and he missed a $6,000 deduction or credit that I should have had. I'm like, and I found it later. I was like, I didn't take much to him. I just said, time to find a new accountant. But these are the kinds of things that people don't pick up on, much less. And that was just more of an accounting issue, and when credits were still available and what was going on, or what I was owed back taxes, or I paid too much. And I mean, that's just the basics, right? You're talking about some advanced stuff.
Well, that's tax law changes you're talking about to take advantage of.
Okay.
And that's why you would hire someone like us, because you have to stay up on the changes. There's a lot of changes going on right now as we speak. That's actually a bill being introduced, that you don't even know about yet. They're still talking about it. So I try to follow, right, the key ones, and that includes the states too. The states are doing their thing as well. So that's a different tax, right? And the people are talking about, hey, we want to charge for online taxing. We're getting into cannabis now. Well, those are different laws and requirements related to that. Do you know about that? Well, guess what? We do.
You need an expert, everybody. If you don't have an expert, Toni Jackson, her firm here, FIN-accounting, ACCTG Inc. If you're looking up, I'm going to put this, you can see it up on the wall up here. It's also on our title slides here. I'm going to put in Toni's, there it is right there at the bottom of that slide. You can see that there. But literally, I mean, it's one of the most critical pieces. If you're going to run a business, I mean, you're never going to make it past just a little mom and pop, individual sole proprietor type thing where you're working for yourself if you don't start getting accounting help in there. And likely, there's things you can do even for the guy who's got his own little one-person shop, right? Mm-hmm. Up to people that have, what's the largest company you usually help consult with?
Multi-million dollar, mid-range, I'd say, outside of the jobs that I've had as an employee, mid-range, small to mid-range businesses is what I've been primarily working with.
And then
right
you're
now.
talking about revenue somewhere between 1 million and 20,
Five, yeah,
20
one-
million,
yeah,
5
yeah,
million? Okay.
Yeah, 5 million right now, I'd
Yeah,
say.
and that's a sweet spot for a lot of people from the perspective of just having a nice business you can run. You know everybody that's working for you, but you don't have to worry about all the a lot you don't have. There's still a lot you have to deal with there, but there's big tax implications there that if you're not paying attention, big problems can come about.
Yep,
So that's
that and I do have the big business experience. I've
I
worked
was
with
gonna say,
Anheuser-Busch.
you want to mention them?
Boeing,
Okay,
yeah.
We talked about
so-
Anheuser-Busch and
Right,
Boeing.
yeah.
I mean,
So
has
worked
anybody
for
ever heard-
American Water as well? So yeah.
So the
So
experience.
I had to actually, for myself, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I
No.
had to actually, when you start a business, right? You start small generally, but I had big business brain.
Right.
So I had to learn to come down to be the small business person and recognize that you're just small business. So, but I can handle the big business too.
Yeah, well, it's good to have somebody who has that background because if
Yeah.
you want to take something to that level or somewhere in between, if all you had the person had experience was the smaller stuff, then what do you do when you get to those mid or large size decisions you got to make? You've done it at
Very different.
at the highest level. I think people will always ask me about how did you get into Anheuser-Busch and build email systems for AB. I'm like, well, I started off down here and then worked your way up, and I think you came in there at a level. I was like, wow, you were getting shipped around the world
Yeah.
to manage stuff for them because I know they had servers in different countries that I had to manage, and so then that meant they had offices there and business there and
Startup sales offices,
breweries.
shut down sales offices, and what that means is there's balance sheets and financials that go along with it. You have to zero out a balance sheet. Do you know how to do that?
I've emptied some bank accounts in the past. Does that count?
Basically, that's part of it, right? That's
Right.
one line item, right?
Right. Very important. Okay. How long have you been doing this overall? If you would give a summation of your career as a professional doing this, how many years would you say you've been doing this?
Oh,
And you don't have to give too
definitely
much.
over years. Let's say over 20 years.
Okay.
I just decades.
Yeah, and got some expertise that obviously is second to none with regard to some of the stuff you've done. I mean, when you and I started really talking, I'll give a little side note here, and that was when our team reaches out to business owners in the community that we think could be a good highlight on our show here to help people understand business and learn from people that are experts in the community. When you first came in, I had a little bit of background on you. As we started talking, I'm like, holy cow, like. You could probably do stuff for the federal government on an international level if they say, and the Secretary of House, that's the kind of level it seems like you're at, given Anheuser-Busch, Boeing.
Yeah, a lot of experience. I appreciate all the experience I've had. I didn't do it alone. I've had great teams that I worked with. And so we have our business as business owners, but we also know it's the team that makes us great.
Well, teamwork makes the dream work, and you were part of some big teams. I remember we had a server problem at one of the places I was at, and 2,000 people didn't have email for a few minutes, but I fixed it. It was a pressure situation, but
Yeah, it is pressure.
when you're at that level, you've got to perform, and you've had to do that.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no maybe this gets done or
You
not.
find a way.
You make it happen.
Like that just recently happened to me. Was trying to give someone a last minute extension on for their taxes. Well, something happened in my software, and something wasn't working right. But there was only another hour and a half left till midnight. Okay, and so finding another way. In other words, went to the free website just to file the 7004 form, right, for the extension.
The 7004 form. Everybody knows what that is, right?
Business extension.
Right.
Yeah, tax extension. And so, no, it wasn't through my normal software program that I use. So I just basically paid another internet firm, right, that I've used in the past, trusted, to do it for us, right? We got it done.
But you had to get it
And
done.
we got it done.
That was the bottom line.
Yes.
Well, that's the key to life. I mean, the success that people have is those people that just go, I don't know what to do.
Find a way.
The show must go on. My mom, drama teacher, everybody knows I talk about that, but she's taught John Goodman in 50-something years. I shouldn't say mom's going to say, no, everybody knows how old I am, but she's still teaching and she loves it. But I remember one of the famous break a leg. They had that painted up on the wall behind the set. I used to go to the set there at Afton High School. And the other one, the show must go on.
Show must go on.
Isn't that the truth?
Yes, that is very much the truth. especially if you commit to someone to do something and they're depending on you, especially if you're talking about business taxes. You know, if you're a LLC, for example, you have to April 15th. April 16th this year because April 15th, I think, weekend, or April 17th. I'm not sure. Whatever that Monday is.
Right.
But we have to get it done if you don't want to pay a penalty.
Right.
And if you do file an extension, you have to remember if you owe, you still have to pay on the due date.
Right.
That doesn't get extended.
Or they start giving you some of these penalties, incentives. Some people might call them incentives to get these things paid and get ahead of the game, if you will. All right, a bunch of stuff I want to talk about. A couple more important questions. What is it about this that fuels your passion? I mean, you're obviously very passionate about this. Some people would say, how can you be passionate about accounting? Mm-hmm. But when you get to see the functions of a business and how you help them to make profits so they can put food on the table, that's got to be kind of rewarding.
Yeah, that is exactly right. In addition to that, for sure, if you're helping someone and it's working and you've delivered, right, what you promised or committed to, that is great. But what really drives me is to first of all, you have to make sure I have quality work and deliver on time. But what drives me is what I consider a standard, going beyond what I need to go through just to get it done, is when the person or the company, I over exceed their expectations.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That really fuels me, right? Especially if I didn't even expect it myself. It's like, how you say, wow, that came out better than I planned. That is what fuels me.
No, I agree with that strategy because it's a matter of then, if something doesn't go quite as well, you still get outperformed if you just try to exceed.
Yeah.
And that was back when, I'll give an example, when we had systems in place, we had a backup. And then we had to have a backup to the backup. Wow. Just because you didn't want to have, if the backup failed and then you were down, things were gone. And then that's kind of how my business has learned to operate. And when you're in the IT world and all this kind of stuff, but how many businesses, they don't even have a backup? Mm-hmm. And well, you better have a good accountant then, because then they're going to say, got to answer this, got to get these documents. Tell me some of the things that businesses run into. I'm going off script here because I want people to understand there's more to it.
No, but I think, just in terms of having that backup, nowadays, the savior is the cloud, right?
Okay.
So there is always, you do have that. So that's a saving grace for many businesses now. If it's on the cloud, we can get to it, or they can get to it. But as far as some of the saving graces, I'd say, sometimes people don't realize that if they don't take care of things timely, what the consequences could be. And so I try to make it clear, in my communication or my follow-up, the impact. So it's about, hey, what's the consequences and impact to something if you don't do X, Y, Z. So I try to give that advice, the best I can, but then it's ultimately up to the business owner because, they're busy, right? They're out there selling their products, selling their service. And this is just paperwork, right?
Right, to them, yeah.
But it's important paperwork. We're calling it paperwork, even though we do it electronically.
Everything's electronic. Yeah, electronic paperwork now.
Paperwork.
Digital paperwork.
Digital paperwork.
And that's true. I mean, but the world, and that's where it's another one of those things, like, I just don't want to have to deal with it. As a business owner who's done this for years and helped my parents when they have a small business, I mean, there's so much that goes into this that it's just like, it's a headache, and I don't want to deal with it. Just tell me what I should do. Or, yes, tell them whatever you have to do, just tell them and get it done so that I don't have to deal with those things. Yeah. And the repercussions could be dramatic if they're not taken care of and managed properly. And that's a big consideration.
Accuracy is key. You got to have accuracy, and you better have good support. So record keeping along the way, quite frankly, is
important stuff. All right. Well, tell me, Toni, what would you say is one thing that sets your business apart? If you really said, worked in this industry for a long time, the one thing I do better than the rest, or one thing I'm really good at that makes a difference, is this. What would you say that one thing might be?
I don't know what it would be as far as my competitors because I don't watch them, to be honest with you.
That's a great way to do it.
But I'd say my personality wins me the business because I give things away. I try to teach along the way.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so some people, I've run into other CPAs or people like myself that they want to get paid for the advice, In other words, they'll say, call me, set up some time. They don't want to answer your question, directly because they see that as a potential another opportunity. Well, I don't have a problem with that because I know there's more to come, whether it's with you or someone else. I don't worry about that. I just want to do good work and help people out along the way.
Very important. And that's a great strategy. There's a lot of people that talk about give them something for free. That's the best strategy marketing wise. Getting in my world a little bit. And once you're giving somebody some good information, and let them go off and do whatever they want with that information, but they remember who it was that helped them. And that brings them in. Versus, I won't talk to you until you come in and, $500 to sit down with me or whatever it may be for whatever. But yeah, that's a great strategy for doing so. And that's kind of almost kind of a good karma type thing too, and it really helps businesses.
And I just did that when I was.
I'll say what was the one? Remind me the one we talked about in the pregame.
Well, we kind of alluded to it when I said someone at the last minute asked me to do an extension, right? Well, because I had that technical problem and couldn't do it, that other source that we went through cost $49.95. But I didn't tell the client at the time. I just wanted it to get done. Time was of the essence. We only had, at this point, less than an hour to get it done.
Well, yeah, and you said
so
foot
after
that bill
all
and
got done, got the congratulations, the formal one that the IRS has accepted your extension, for example. I said, by the way, that did cost $49.95. I just want you to know that it was not as free as I thought it was. I think it was for the individuals, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But I said, there's no problem. I told you I would get this done for you. We got it done.
good work. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to share with everybody. Look up on the wall behind us, if you will. We've got 2 TV walls here in our studio. First, we're going to show you everybody the fan page, and it's kind of neat. Your businesses should have a fan page. You've received a couple cool awards already, featured in the Top 100 magazine. That's very neat. We're going to put that one up. I'm going to actually switch that over here because I was like, wow, that's a powerful picture there. You look like you know what you're doing. It's very professional. Everyone can see that. But look at this award Tony's already received this year or recently that really makes an impact and shows that you've got the professional aptitude that people should be aware of. And then I'm going to switch over to the other wall that we have everything on. This is your website. And like I said, I grade websites on a regular basis. That's what we have to do. But you've got all the important information. I was kind of surprised. I thought maybe you paid somebody a whole lot of money to do this, but I think you did a lot of this yourself. Is that right?
No, not this one.
Okay.
My previous website.
Okay.
No, this is when I said sometimes you got to get some help.
All right, everybody. We just finished up the first segment of the show that airs on ABC. If you're going to cut out at this point, or if you only happen to see this part of the show, we're going to go talk for at least another 15 minutes. I told her I want to give her an hour in studio. So if you missed anything, catch up here. This is not the end of the show. Or if you're catching it right now, we're switching over because the 28 minutes, 30 seconds is already up, Tony. That's how much time we get on ABC for our half hour. But we're going to talk for hopefully another 30 minutes, maybe a couple hours. I know she's got to get back to her home and see her husband. But this is powerful information. So now we're going to jump right into the rest of this interview. All right, everybody, stay tuned for more. You're enjoying the Your Little Castle show. Giddy up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Giddy up.